Episode 02, UAP on the Moon, What Apollo Astronauts Actually Witnessed. Duration, 20 minutes, 2,400 words. Phase, Facts. December 1972. Apollo 17 astronauts photograph 3 triangular lights above the lunar horizon. For 54 years, NASA called it film artifact. In May 2026, the Pentagon reopens the case and announces it might be a physical object. The government obtained the original film. Analysis is underway. What you're about to hear comes directly from the technical transcripts of the Apollo missions, declassified in May 2026. Apollo 11, July 1969. Visual, photo of the Moon, Eagle module, citation overlay. The first manned mission to the Moon. But before landing, something caught the crew's attention. Quote from Technical Crew Debriefing, Volume I, page 6-33. Buzz Aldrin speaking. The first unusual thing that we saw, I guess, was one day out or something pretty close to the Moon. It had a sizable dimension to it. Michael Collins, where'd we see this thing? Did we just look out the window and there it was? Aldrin, yes. And we weren't sure but what it might be the SIVB. We called the ground and were told the SIVB was 6,000 miles away. Armstrong, we should say that it was right at the limit of the resolution of the eye. It was very difficult to tell just what shape it was. Collins, we looked at it through the monocular and it seemed to have a bit of an L shape to it. Armstrong, like an open suitcase. An object of sizable dimension 6,000 miles from the SIVB. Seen by 3 astronauts. Never explained. Apollo 12, November 1969. Visual, 5 photos VM1 of VM5 from Apollo 12, show in sequence. 5 photographs. Zones highlighted by Dow analysis in 2026. The images show unidentified phenomena above the lunar horizon. The transcript excerpt shows astronauts describing particles of light that escape the Moon and press off at the stars. Quote from transcript, page 7H4. When you look out the AOT in the dark quadrant, you can see these lights, particles of light, flashes of light. They're coming from behind me, and they're just sailing off in space. I was thinking they're dropping from my water boiler, but it looks like some of those things are escaping the Moon. They really haul out of here and just press off at the stars. Escaping the Moon, objects that appear to emerge from the lunar surface. Apollo 17, December 1972, the key file. Visual, photo VM6 Apollo 17, 3 triangular lights, slow zoom. Apollo 17 was the last manned mission to the Moon. It was also the most controversial. Photo VM6, 3 triangular points of light photographed above the lunar surface. For 54 years, NASA explained them as a film artifacts or lens flares. But the recently declassified mission transcript tells a different story. Quote from Apollo 17 transcript, tape 5 halves. CMP, now we've got a few very bright particles or fragments or something that go drifting by as we maneuver. Ground, Roger. Understand. LMP, there's a whole bunch of big ones on my window down there, just bright. It looks like the 4th of July out of Ron's window. CMP, yes. Now you can see some of them in shape. They're very jagged, angular fragments that are tumbling. Ground, Roger. They look like fluid of some sort. CMP, not to me. They look like pieces of something. The full exchange, what ground didn't say. Visual, declassified transcript scrolls, keywords highlighted. The transcript continues. Ground asks. Roger? I've got you. We're all ears on these fragments. Do you think you can figure out what they might be? CMP replies, there are a number of possibilities. I got the impression maybe they were curved a little bit, ice chunks, possibly. Or maybe there's paint coming off of it. But Commander Gene Cernan interjects. Bob. This is Gino. My impression is that they are flat, flake-like particles. And later, the CMP adds. Every once in a while, a fragment of considerably higher velocity than the others goes across my window. But that's very rare. Fragments moving at different speeds. That have shape. That don't behave like ice or paint. Ground responds, what explanation? Visual, NASA technical diagrams, SIVB schematic. Ground tries to provide an explanation. I noticed on one trip up the elevator last week near one of the flags. I thought it was on the SI, but it might have been on the SIVB. Looked like it was peeling. Maybe that's what you've got. The SIVB. The third stage of the Saturn V rocket. It had separated from the Apollo spacecraft hours before. It was drifting thousands of miles away. The CMP notes that the fragment field is essentially static, except for very slight tumbling within the fragments. Static. Moving with the spacecraft, not ahead or behind. And crucially, fragments that are bright, white, that look like the 4th of July. The Dow investigation in 2026. Visual, Dow logo, official Apollo 17 VM6 investigation document. On May 9, 2026, one day after the Pursue batch release, the Department of War announced it was opening an active investigation into Apollo 17 photo VM6. Quote from media, preliminary analysis suggests a physical object in the scene. The government obtained the original Apollo 17 film. NASA and the Dow are collaborating on new analysis. This is the first time the US government has officially admitted that one of the Apollo photos might show something physical. Skylab 1973, The Light Flashes. Visual, Skylab photo, light flash animations, quote scrolls. 1 year after Apollo 17, Skylab astronauts documented similar phenomena. Quote from Skylab 1/2 Technical Crew Debriefing, June 30, 1973. Cohen, we saw light flashes. I think all of us saw them. I saw them most often when I was in the sack at night with my eyes closed but awake. They tended to wax and wane in frequency. Occasionally 2 or 3 per minute. Conrad, some of them to me were a spot or sunbursts. Some were streaks. Most of them were in my peripheral visual field. Cohen, we didn't feel it was operationally necessary for anybody to know about it right now. The mystery of the light particles. Visual, animation of cosmic rays crossing the eye. Skylab astronauts observed flashes they attributed to cosmic rays crossing the eyeball. But the important detail, they could determine which eye the flash occurred in. And the descriptions varied, spots, sunbursts, streaks. But the Apollo 17 science debriefing, January 1973, reveals something stranger. Dr. Henry describes UV observations that don't fit any known explanation. The spectrum we see looks like the spectrum of a hot star. However, we know there were no hot stars within our field of view. The most conservative interpretation is that we're seeing light from hot stars in the galactic plane reflecting off interstellar dust. There are certain characteristics of the spectrum that don't fit that theory, and it's at least possible that this is extragalactic radiation. Summary, what the government knows now. Visual, timeline, Apollo 11, 12, 17, Skylab, each mission had phenomena. What the documents reveal. 1. Apollo 11, an object of sizable dimension, tracked for 3 hours, unexplained. 2. Apollo 12, particles of light escaping the moon, documented in 5 photos. 3. Apollo 17, 3 triangular lights, Dow investigation opened in 2026. 4. Skylab, unexplained light flashes, reported but not operationally necessary. In 54 years, none of these observations have received a satisfactory official explanation. While astronauts observed from space, back on Earth the U.S. diplomatic network was also documenting strange phenomena. Cables from Papua New Guinea, Kazakhstan, Mexico. Objects making 90-degree turns in the sky. Encounters by commercial airline pilots. Documents classified by the State Department. If space was being watched, so was Earth. 5 missions. 6 astronauts. All saw something they could never explain. And today, in 2026, the U.S. government admits it's reopening the Apollo 17 investigation. Next episode, the State Department diplomatic cables, a global network of UAP sightings. Source documents. NASA UAP D1 Apollo 12 transcript 1969.pdf. NASA UAP D2 Apollo 17 transcript 1972.pdf. NASA UAP DFUG Apollo 11 technical crew debriefing 1969.pdf. NASA UAP D5 Apollo 17 crew debriefing for science 1973.pdf. NASA UAP D6 Apollo 17 technical crew debriefing 1973.pdf. NASA UAP D7 Skylab's technical crew debriefing 1973.pdf. Images available. NASA UAP VM1 through VM5 Apollo 12 5 photos. NASA UAP VM6 Apollo 17 3 triangular lights. Abonnez vous pour ne pas manquer le prochain épisode de cette série.